The most difficult thing that I faced when embracing Islam is maintaining that, how can I put this, productive relationship with my mother and father. Because at the same time that I was learning about religion and Islam, my mother was going to biblical college to become a pastoress or deacon. So when I got accepted to the University of Al-Medina, she was just graduating from biblical college. So she made it a point to call me to Christianity a lot. So when I embraced this, kind of rewinding, when I embraced Islam, she was really, really studying. And there were nights when I would, as many of us, when we first embraced Islam, we wanted to, we would go to the masjid for Fajr. We would pray Tahajjud was like how it was from the Prophet ﷺ. That was like standard for us. So there would be nights it was every night before Fajr when I prayed Tahajjud, and my mother mysteriously, and Allah knows best, would wake up and she would come and she would do what's called tongues. Some of y'all may be familiar with it. It's where they say a certain language and it's supposedly the spirit has taken them over to where they speak a language that's not understood, even by the one that's doing it. So it's a spiritual nirvana, if you will. And she would do that every morning. Every night, like right before Fajr. When I would pray, she'd come in and she'd touch my head, and it was literally sometimes it would be like a battle of the spirits, man, because I'd be praying and she'd touch my head and I'd move her hand. She'd pray, touch my head, move her hand. And then when I go to sleep, she'd come sometimes when I was asleep and put her hand on my head, and I'd have to hold her hand and say, Mom, please, with all due respect, I love you, but please don't do that. I just don't believe in that. I hope you respect that. And it came to a point to where she would tell me, just go take my car, just go to the mosque and pray. Don't pray at the house. Because she had a feeling that it was evil spirits that were coming into her house. So that experience was something that, I had to go through. And part of it was because of my youth, being that I embraced Islam at the age of around 2021. Not knowing how to properly deal with things with patience and with silence and stillness. I think that is advice that I give to anyone, especially if it comes to family members, because they know how to push your buttons. They know what to say. They even know a word that they could say, but the tone that they say it, that will push your buttons. Knowing how to deal with that and thinking to yourself while you're dealing with it, you're fighting with yourself, and you say, you know what, I'm going to worship Allah through being a different individual than what my mother expects me to be. Not reacting the way my mother would expect me to react. And they'll have no choice but to think that, okay, this Islam thing is making them change. They may think it's for the worst, but eventually as time goes by, they're going to realize that it's something real. Which is another thing, and I'll end with this, is I remember one time I was in the car with my mother, and I used to have to take her to work. So okay, this is an advantage for me to I'm going to put some Islamic lectures in, I'm going to play the Quran. So one reciter I used to love listening to was Sa'd al-Ghamidi. So I used to play this reciter, beautiful recitation, and my mother used to like it. She's like, this is a beautiful voice. And I knew some Arabic, so I played like the last 3 verses, Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu. I said, yeah, this is what Allah is this is what it's the meaning of this verse is saying this, is saying that. She's like, yeah. She said one day in the car when I'm taking her to work, she said, this sounds so beautiful, but I know that this is a phase for you. You're going to come to Jesus one day. So I'm thinking, man, it's been like a year or two. She thinks it's just a phase. It's not something that's real. But let's fast forward almost 18 years later, 4 kids and a wife later, she realizes that it's real. Her first set of grandchildren are Muslim grandchildren. She sees her granddaughter wearing hijab. She sees that it's a real thing. So now it's a whole different relationship, along with my maturity and not shoving Islam down her throat and not watching Ahmed Didat videos and hoping that I remember what he said to go tell her right in the next room. It's a totally different relationship. So that's what I would advise a convert really. When dealing with family members, they know how to push your buttons, but make the intention to worship Allah by having good relations with them and with your actions showing that it's something you're in here for the long haul. It's not something that's temporary.
يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور